Coinbase now replacing their wallet app with the Base app. So it's a complete rebrand, a full replacement. It's sort of an everything app, they're calling it, which I think we can think of as more of a super app, something comparable to WeChat in China, which you and I were just talking about. This kind of super app idea has been the holy grail of fintech for a very long time. So really interesting to see what Coinbase does with it here. And they're really putting the message out toward content creators because this is going to be a Web3 version of a super app. So they want to get that decentralization angle in there for creators. It is interesting to see what Coinbase does with the decentralized angle because they're, trying to get into this new consumer market for people who could benefit from the Web3 economy, but might not necessarily be interested in crypto or crypto trading. So I think that's why they're focusing on creators. They're saying, you're able to control your data and your content in whatever way you want. You do not have to be held to whatever rules the algorithm wants. We'll see.
Happy Bitcoin Monday, freaks. It's your host, Odell, here for another Citadel Dispatch, the interactive live show focused on actionable Bitcoin and freedom tech discussion. That intro clip was from CNBC, I believe earlier today, maybe yesterday. It appears Coinbase is launching a social app that they claim is built on top of Web3. I haven't actually looked into the technical specifics there. But it's going to have a shitcoin wallet built in, shitcoin trading, social feed like Twitter-ish, social games, and USDC zaps, USD token zaps. Sounds kind of similar to Nostr, albeit in a more dystopian way, probably a less scalable way. Kind of the same vision we're trying to build out at Primal, so I thought it was interesting. Anyway, freaks, that clip had nothing to do with our episode today. As always, Citadel Dispatch is free of ads and sponsors. We're supported by viewers like you who support the show with zaps. Historically, the easiest way you could send zaps is in our live Nostr stream. That is down for a second week in a row because of a DDoS, a denial of service attack on the servers there. Our friend Kieran is working on fixing that. But you can also support the show through podcasting 2.0 apps like Fountain Podcasts, which you can download in your favorite app store. The top zap there from last week was Blockchain Boog with 1,000 sats saying, "Big fan of PPQ. It's my main driver for AI services. Thanks, Matt." Thank you, sir, for supporting the show. I love the live chat, so even though we don't have the Nostr stream going, we'll be piping in the live chat from Twitch, YouTube, and X. Anyway, freaks, I have my good friend here, Ben Kaufman, longtime Bitcoiner, famously built Specter Wallet, helped build Specter Wallet. Now he's focused on building Bitcoin Keeper. How's it going, Ben?
Yeah, good, doing well. Thanks for inviting me.
Good to have you, sir. And it's good to have you building in the Bitcoin space again. I think a good place to start is Specter Wallet. So to me, Specter Wallet rose onto the scene as a free and open source coordinator for using your hardware wallets easily, whether that was single sig or multi-sig. What are your thoughts on that process, your experience building out that product or that project, and where we stand today?
Yeah, I mean, back when Spectre just started was 2020. There was basically only Electrum for multisig, and using your own node, you had to set up Electrum server, Specter was trying to simplify it, so it was connecting directly to Bitcoin Core, so you don't have to set up a Electrum server. You could use directly your hardware wallet. So it was trying to give you a better interface for everything, basically. And I think it did a pretty good job at that at the time, because well, also the only thing in the market was pretty much Electrum. Right now, you have quite a lot more solutions. You have Keeper, which we're working on now, but you also have Nunchuck, you have Sparrow, you have Casaf now. So you have quite a few solutions to choose from.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Casa and Unchained might have existed already when Spectre came out.
so
Sparrow
Casaf
definitely didn't,
in the
and
early
Nunchuck didn't.
beginning, and yeah, and Unchained had Caravan, but it was also very in the very beginning, so it didn't have most of the feature that Spectre offered.
Yeah, Spectre was like besides Electrum, was the only real like false self-hosted way of handling multisig,
Yeah,
at
pretty
least in an
much.
easy way. Um, yeah, kids these days don't realize how easy they have it.
Yeah,
Like that
and
was only that was
that.
only 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing the speed of the progress here, because yeah, just 5 years ago, like making multisig was quite a nightmare. Right now I can do it in like a minute maybe. So it's amazing how far we've gone.
So interesting. So Keeper, Bitcoin Keeper. What is Bitcoin Keeper? What are you aiming to solve? How do people use it?
Yeah, so Bitcoin Keeper is essentially a wallet that tries to make it easy to secure your Bitcoin for the long term. So from the start, right, from when you just start stacking, you need just a hot wallet or something, and take you all the way until you need like full inheritance planning, multisig, everything. So it tries to give you all the options for all the stages in the way. Um, it's basically an app on your phone, right? You download it, you set it up, you get a hot wallet immediately. With that, you can then set up hardware wallets with it. You can set up multi-sig. We also have some advanced miniscript features, but the entire idea is to help you secure everything for generations, basically.
So you start with it starts with single sig on your phone. So someone fresh to Bitcoin has never self custody before. They can download Bitcoin Keeper it's on Android and iPhone, right?
Yeah, yeah, both.
They can just download it from their app store, and then they can create a self custody wallet
Yeah,
just with their
exactly.
phone and send Bitcoin to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they can start very easy. You can set it up and just try it out with small amounts just to get used to everything. Then, when you want to move on, you can get the hardware wallet and connect with it.
How do you, for that single sig wallet, how do you handle backup situation? Is it just using seed phrases?
Yeah, it's with seed phrases. So what we do is we have you have your, we call it the recovery key, which is your like master seed phrase, let's call it, and then we use BIP85 to generate child seeds. So if you want to have multiple wallets, you can have multiple and back them up separately if you want.
If you want to like segregate funds, but you have that single backup seed.
Yeah, so you can have like a single backup, but also if you want to like give out one or keep some separately, both in the like on the wallets themselves and in these their backups, you can also do that.
Awesome. So we have the single sig wallet. That's probably where most users will start. They back it up with a seed. And then you mentioned hardware wallets. How does the hardware wallet support work? Do you support all the majors? Is it QR
Mhm.
code based? Is it NFC based? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have everything, right? So we support all the major ones, I think about 10 or so. We have all the options, right? So QR, file, NFC for those who support that. And then those who support only USB, like Ledger or Trezor or Bitbox, we have a desktop app where you can just, it's basically, it's not a full desktop app right now. It's just a companion app. You download it and you can connect it via QR to your app on your phone. So you can still use hardware wallets which require USB connection.
Because iPhones don't let you just natively connect via
Yeah,
USB.
it's quite a problem to connect it natively via USB. Yeah.
That's pretty clever. I didn't realize that. Um, so, and then So what if they're on their phone and they're going through that process? Does it just direct them to download the desktop app?
Yeah, so if they want to use USB, if they choose USB, or if they choose a wallet which a hardware wallet which only supports USB, then yeah, it will tell them, okay, download the app from our website and then follow these steps basically.
Got it. And so, okay, so the first step as the user is, I like the idea of the progression. And so to me has always been like the holy grail is like this idea of a way for a user to start easy without additional hardware and then upgrade their process over time. So you start with the hot wallet, you start with the wallet on your phone, which is pretty secure, but still not cold storage. And when we talk about cold storage, what we mean is keys are always held offline and never touch an internet connected device, which is the single biggest improvement you can make to self custody, because it means that someone can't remotely steal your funds. They have to actually compromise the keys that are offline. And that's why hardware wallets exist. So then you move from that to a hardware wallet, a single sig hardware wallet. Ideally, you're using one of the better ones. My favorite remains the cold card. You use the cold card. You never actually connect your cold card to the internet. And you're just using Keeper to effectively coordinate the transaction, set up the transaction, look at your balances, and then you sign with the offline hardware wallet. Okay, but if you want to then go even further and improve that setup, you would move to something like multisig. How do you handle multisig in Bitcoin Keeper?
Yeah, so just as you can set up a single key, you can add more keys and set up a multi-sig, right? So you can add your keys, whether it's a hardware wallet or another mobile wallet, like let's say another Keeper app on someone else's phone. You can just add that to your app basically and go to the create wallet section. You select the keys that you want, you select your quorum, your threshold, and you click create, and basically that's it. You have the wallet ready.
And then so you have all. Then at that point, if this is my third wallet, now I have all those wallets are still in the
Yeah,
same
so you
app.
have a list of the wallet, yeah, in the app. So you can have your, let's say, your hot wallet, then your single key, then your multi-sig, let's say.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And if you have all
Yeah, go on.
cooperative wallets, then you can have that in the list, right? So you can have, maybe you want to have your own multi-sig and you want to have a collaborative wallet with someone else. It will all appear there, basically.
Right. And so when we talk about multisig, the cool part about multisig is, in that situation, you have multiple hardware wallets. You can keep them in different places. And then you're even more resistant to theft because someone who wants to compromise you has to compromise multiple hardware wallets, and presumably go to these multiple physical locations to do it. But it also works really well for organizations that don't want like the CEO to have full control over the funds. Like we see this with OpenSats, our entire treasury is in Bitcoin multi-sig. And we don't want one single person to be able to take the treasury. So you mentioned collaborative tools there. So in an organization setup, you have a situation where maybe the CTO is holding one key, the CFO is holding one key, the CEO is holding one key, or you could imagine a family situation kind of being similar. Um, how do you handle the collaboration element? Because that's always been, if you're using something like Sparrow, like you're sending these partially signed Bitcoin transactions through like Signal or something to handle that coordination.
Yeah, so basically right now what we did is we basically let you generate, let's call it a magic link, where you the app generates a link for you where the information is encrypted, saved on our servers, encrypted for a few moments. Then you send a link which basically contains the key to decrypt it. The users download the content, decrypt it, it gets deleted also, and then it's basically in there, opens their app with deep
So
links.
that's to set up the wallet at first setup.
So this is whatever you want, right? So if it's to share the wallet with them, so let's say they want to share the key with you, so they can share their key with this link. Then if you want to send them the descriptor, so they can import the wallet on their side, or if you want to send them the transaction to sign or when they send it back after they sign the transaction. So the whole process you can do with these links, or you can do with QR, with files,
and you give them
whatever
those
you want.
options. The user can choose.
Yeah, we give all these options.
But most
can
people
choose,
will
yeah.
probably choose the link method. So like they're setting up their wallet, and they're basically, if there's three of us, we're the first one sets up to begin with, takes the link, sends it on Signal or whatever to the second person. They click the link, they add their key, then the third person does it. It's like that, right?
Yeah, so pretty much. So when you send the link, it shares the PSBT behind the scenes. It opens up the app on the other user side. When he clicks the link, it shows him the transaction, the option to sign it. After it's signed, it shows him the option to send it back, right? And then it generates the new link that
Got
they can
it.
send you.
That's awesome. That's pretty clean. And how do you handle, so like when someone's choosing multi-sig, they can do like a 2 of 3. So you have 3 keys, you need 2 to spend. They can do a 3 of 5. How do you handle that? Is that up to the user? What are your defaults?
Yeah, it's up to the user. So we have like the recommendation is to do either a single key, a 2 of 3, or a 3 of 5, but we have the option there. So the user can just choose the to set it himself, and then he can choose whatever he wants.
That's awesome.
basically.
Okay. While we're here, I'm kind of curious on your opinion on multi-sig versus single sig plus passphrase for the average person.
Yeah, so multi-sig versus single sig, like normal single sig is pretty straightforward on the trade-off. I don't think it needs a lot of explanation. So multi-sig is a lot like more complicated. It needs a bit more setup, but it gives you more security and more redundancy, right? I don't think this is something that people tend to compare really. It's clear that a single key is easier, but less secure, less fault tolerant. So the trade-offs are very clear, right? It's just using one key versus 2 out of 3 keys. Again, if you need less, if you have, not such a large amount that you're saving, you can do with a single key probably. But if you want to secure life savings or like a treasury of a company, then you definitely want a multi-sig. Then you have the big discussion on multi-sig versus single sig with a passphrase. I'm definitely on the camp of multi-sig and not using a passphrase. I think I'll start just with the side of the passphrase. The only benefit I can see from it is the obfuscation that you can do. It has a bit of an easier plausible deniability with regard to the funds.
Yeah, because you could
But
have so when we're talking about a passphrase is, so when you create single sig, like the wallet is generating 24 words for you or 12 words depending on your wallet, and then the passphrase is a user generated 25th word. And the cool part about a passphrase is that you can actually have multiple passphrases, and they all are different wallets. So you could theoretically have multiple wallets on the same seed. And in a situation when Ben's talking about plausible deniability, in a situation where someone's trying to compel you to give up your wallet, you can give them a different passphrase that has a different amount of funds on it. Or you can even, the regular seed without the passphrase could have funds on it, and the one with the passphrase could have more funds on it. Is what he's referring to with plausible deniability. I mean, Ben, I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into this topic, because what I've noticed is recently, with the rise of these Bitcoin treasury companies, championed by MSTR being by far the leader. There's like MSTR and then everybody else. And the ETFs is what a lot of people tend to do in terms of recommending things to people is they're like, you can go onto Charles Schwab and you can buy one of these ETFs or MSTR or whatever, and that's super easy and you won't fuck it up. Or if you want to self custody, you have to do multi-sig and you have to have this overly complicated setup.
It is.
And
This is a good
so
point.
one of my concerns I've had lately is like, So let's use me as an example, which I hate doing, but let's use me as an example. I'm a public figure in Bitcoin. I have a different threat model than the average Bitcoiner, and I'm also much more technically competent. So I use multisig, and I specifically use geographically distributed multisig, where all the keys aren't in one location. And that's, I think, really important for my specific threat model. With OpenSats, we use geographically distributed multisig because we're an organization and we don't want a single person to have access to the funds. But for the average person, even if they are holding a larger amount, and this is always the nuance of the whole thing, because people just say large amount, small amount. Well, what does that even mean? No one knows what the fuck that means. It depends on the person. Even if they're holding a larger amount, like single sig hardware wallet, cold storage, they keep their seed offline. They put a passphrase on that thing. Pretty good security model. Like, I don't think, like, it's simple, it's straightforward, pretty good security model. And if you start comparing that to the security model of holding MSTR, it can be substantially better depending on your threat model. Like, if you're holding MSTR, you're trusting three companies, right? You're trusting Charles Schwab or whoever your broker is. You're trusting MSTR and Saylor, and then you're trusting whoever their custodian is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there seems to be a false equivalency. Like, and that's why I like Bitcoin Keeper, is because it does kind of ease them into it.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what this is what we're trying to achieve there. So yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to dive right into multisig, right? It's never either MSTR or multisig, right? There is a lot in between, and yeah, multisig is not for everyone, especially not at first. You don't have to start there. You can just start with a hot wallet at first, just to try a little bit. Then you buy a harder wallet. Then maybe you put a passphrase on it. Then maybe you consider multisig, right? But you have to kind of go through this process and understand a little bit, because if I just throw at you free hardware wallets and tell you, like, figure it out, if you haven't done any Bitcoin transaction in your life before, that's just not.
Yeah, you got to get
work.
comfortable
Yeah.
with it. Like, no one expects to listen to driving podcasts and then know how to drive. Like, you actually have to get behind the wheel of a car and practice driving before you become competent with driving. But for some reason with Bitcoin, people think like, oh, you can just listen to podcasts or read books or whatever, and then you'll figure out. Like, you have to actually use the tools. And I want to be clear here. Like, I understand why people buy MSTR, and I think it's for two reasons. I think one is just because of comfort. They're used to using their brokerage account. But I think the main reason the way people should think about MSTR, or at least how I think about MSTR, is you're adding risk to your portfolio. You're adding risk to your investment in order to try and outperform Bitcoin. And to me, that's a completely reasonable gamble or bet that you're making. What I have issue with is people basically offering it up as a security alternative versus self-custody, which I think self-custody is actually way more accessible than people ever realize. And I think the concerns for the average person over single sig are probably drummed up way too high. I mean, if you look at like actual numbers on hardware wallet loss, the great majority, like, there's very few cases that we've seen of theft. The majority of issues that people have is people making a mistake and not securing their backup properly. So if you actually secure those seed words offline and ideally put them in steel, 99% of situations, those funds will remain yours, and they'll be very hard to seize. Like, someone will have to actually come into your house and compel you to hand them over.
Yeah, most of the risk is let's say the social engineering attacks, but it's very unlikely that you lose it if you're doing even just single key, right? If you're doing it well, you're generally very secure, right? You need to follow general rules, right? That, like, just don't trust people, but then they could as easily convince you to give them the password to your Coinbase account or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah. When you say social engineering, it's like, if someone emails you and pretends to be from Ledger and tells you to enter your seed words onto a web page, they can take your money. Don't do that. Like only,
Yeah, you have to
which
be
is a
very
shame.
careful about.
Yeah.
Just don't trust people in general. Like, just don't trust emails or text messages. Like, don't trust them, even if it looks official. Just use common sense. If it asks you for your seed or tries to create any urgency, then it's most likely a scam. Like, go on
Yeah.
the internet, wait a few days, see if there is really people that you trust that are saying that okay, there is really an issue, but don't give in to the panic, right? So what scammers will try to do most is try to make you panic, because when you panic, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Take a deep
just
breath.
yeah, exactly. Take a deep breath. Don't stress about it. Just try to figure things out, but calmly. Yeah.
Yeah, and specifically, like the beauty of hardware wallets is it allows you to have this very easy recommendation, which is if you're using a hardware wallet, only enter your seed words, your backup words, directly into the hardware wallet. 99% of situations that protects you. The scammers are usually trying to get you to enter it into a web page, reply to an email, put it into a Telegram chat or something like that. The whole reason the hardware wallet exists is because it's supposed to be where your private keys are held instead of on the computer. So you want to put it only into your hardware wallet, with the one exception being the beauty of seed backups and them being interoperable is if Bitcoin Keeper disappears, or if Cold Card disappears, or if Ledger disappears, you can then go and recover your funds in another wallet. And in that situation, you might be entering it in Sparrow on your own accord or whatever. That's one of the coolest parts about seed phrases. Now, back to multisig. The other piece of multisig that is interesting to me. So for me, like when I do recommendations to people, it's like start with single sig, get comfortable with single sig. It's the best. It's great for 99% of users and 99% of threat models. And when I say threat models, I'm saying, who are you trying to protect yourself against? You have to threat model. This is personal responsibility, which makes everything a little bit more difficult. But who are you trying to protect yourself against? Who might try and take your Bitcoin from you? And what situations are you trying to protect against? So I like single sig, and I really like single sig with a passphrase. Adds a little bit more complexity of it. Make sure you actually record your passphrase somewhere, and somewhere different than your seed, because your memory, you can get hit in the head, you can lose your memory. That becomes an issue as well. Don't try and memorize things, except for short periods if you're like crossing a border or something. Multisig, I really like for organizations. I really like for public figures. I think specifically geographically distributed multisig. But the other piece of multisig that's really interesting to me as a parent is inheritance. So how do you guys, because single sig inheritance can be quite simple, right? You can tell your heirs where your seed phrase is.
But then they know where your seed phrase
exactly.
is. So that's also
The
that's
problem
fair.
is now they've entered your threat model, right? And the problem is not only can they take your funds, but they could be compelled to give the funds away, right? So it's not an ideal situation. Like you can completely trust, maybe you can completely trust the heir, but they could be fooled, or they could be tricked, or they could be compelled as well. Like they don't have to necessarily be malicious themselves. So how do you guys handle inheritance with the multisig?
Yeah, so our inheritance solution is basically mostly based on Miniscript, right? So Miniscript is this cool programming language, let's say for Bitcoin, which allows you to do certain conditions on the spending, which are more complicated than just a simple multisig. Specifically, it lets you use what we're using most is time locks for keys. So it lets you say, okay, we have these, let's say, these 2 or 3 wallet, which is for now it just has 3 keys and you need 2 of them to sign. But let's say 1 year from now, it will become a 2 out of 4 wallet. So another key will be activated. Right now, this key cannot sign anything, but in 1 year, it will be part of the quorum. Or let's say that's what we call an inheritance key keeper. Then you have an emergency key option where the new key that will be activated is basically a single spender. So instead of having a 2 out of 4, you'll have your 2 out of 3 normally, and then the extra key can spend alone, right? So let's say you lost all your keys in the multisig for some reason, you can still recover even in that case. So we give options of basically the idea is a key that has delayed activation, that when you give it out to someone, so let's say you give it to your heir, they cannot do anything without it right now. But then if some time passes, you don't move the time delay, then it will be activated and they can spend.
So let's walk through that model like in practice, right? So you have the 2 of 3. And then the heir, you're giving the heir the 4th key that is activating later, but they still need a second key to sign. Is keeper holding a key in that situation? How does that work?
No, so keeper doesn't hold a key. So you can plan your inheritance in a way that, okay, you give one key, or they know where one key is and they have the other key, right? Or you could eventually, we want to have a bit more spending conditions there, so you can do more things or have more inheritance keys. So let's say you have let's say you have a 2 out of 3, but then you give 2 inheritance keys to 2 of your childs, let's say. So right now, what you can do, for example, is just give them either an emergency key or let them know where one of your keys are, and then they still cannot spend right now, but can within a year.
So I guess in practice, you're giving them 2 keys ahead of time, but one of them is inert, or whatever. One of those keys isn't activated until the time lock, right?
That's exactly. So that's if you're using a 2 out of 3, yes.
Right. So let's say I'm setting it up. I'm linking 3 keys to the app. The 4th key is generated by the app, presumably, right?
No, you can link also the 4th key, right? So that the 4th key can be either a hardware wallet, or it can be the keeper app on the heir's phone, for example. But you import that key. Basically, you either scan it, you use USB, whatever, but you add this 4th key when you create a wallet.
Got it. So I create the wallet with 4 hardware wallets, let's say, and I'm giving 2 to my heir, and then I'm hiding, or I'm securing the 3 I have somewhere else. And then once this time lock expires, and how is that time lock? How is that time lock set up? Is that time lock based on like the chain, or?
Yeah, so it's using, well, we started with block height, now we move to timestamps, but yes, it's on chain, right? So everything is secured on chain. Miniscript is a programming for the Bitcoin script language, and everything that we do is happening on chain. So keeper doesn't control anything.
Yeah. So it's the time since last transaction?
So it's basically the median time after, what is it, 11 blocks, basically.
No, but since my last transaction, like how does that time lock work? Is it like a year after my last transaction?
You create a wallet. So we use an absolute time lock. So, okay, so in Bitcoin, there are 2 types of time locks, right? There are absolute time locks, which are set up to a specific date, a specific block height. And there are relative time locks, which start on the when a transaction is received. They are basically UTXO specific. So what Keeper does, it uses the absolute time locks, which let you set a date in the future. So let's say we want to set in 2 years. So it's in 2 years since the wallet was created.
Is there a limit on how far in the future you can set it?
No, for absolute time locks, not really. You can set up whatever you want. For the relative time locks, there is a significant limitation of 1.3, 1.4 years.
So is there a trade-off there in terms of picking how, like, what do you have a recommendation for how long people should? Let's use me as an example again. Like how long should the time lock be? I assume, presumably, if I make it longer, if I make it like 20 years in the future, and I die tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll have to wait 20 years to use that key, so that's not a good idea. But also making it like 1 month is also too short, because in order to renew that, you have to make an on-chain transaction. You don't want to make an on-chain transaction once a month, right?
Oh, is that all I have to do? I don't have to create a new wallet to reset the time lock?
Yeah, so you create a new wallet. It's with the same keys, so it's very easy to the app basically generates the new wallet for you. You don't have to do much, but you
Got
need
it.
to update the backup, and you need to make a transaction from the old wallet to the new wallet.
Got it. But the app is like automating that process for me. But in
Yeah, the
practice,
app tries to automate as much as possible. Yeah.
if I make it a 5-year time lock and we're at 4.5 years, then I'm going into the app, and in the background, what's happening is a new wallet is being created that's resetting the time lock. But the user doesn't
Exactly.
really, but it's
You
using
don't
the
have to
same keys. So yeah,
yeah,
go on.
it uses the same keys. It just updates to the preference. So let's say you can choose what the new time lock that you want, whatever it's another year, 5 years, whatever. And then it just creates that new wallet, but you don't have to add keys again or choose the keys or choose anything.
But you said I have to update my backup. What am I updating there? I still have the same seed words for the same hardware wallets. What backup am I updating?
Yeah, so what is getting updated is mostly the times, right? So the backup in this case, in the case of Miniscript, it contains also the specific time that you chose, right? The specific timestamp that you chose. So let's say you have a key that is activated in 2 years. That timestamp of 2 years is also going to appear in your backup. That's because that's needed to generate the address, because it's a part of the Bitcoin script, right? So the Bitcoin script is getting, let's say, translated into an address, which you can also derive from the backup.
And how does the user keep that backup?
Yeah, so that's with how you would secure a descriptor, right? That's another
Yeah.
big topic in multisig, let's say.
Yeah. So
There is
how do you handle that in the app?
Yeah, so first of all, we allow the user to export it as either as a PDF or as a file, or however they want. So they can export it and save it themselves. So we recommend generally to save it with each one of the keys. We also let you save it encrypted to the iCloud or Google Drive, whatever your iOS or Android. But you can basically enter a password for it, and it will save it automatically to the cloud. And then we also have an option to save it with Keeper, so it's also encrypted. We encrypt it with the app recovery key, so that's like your master seed. And then when you enter and try to recover the app, everything will load in automatically.
Got it. I was laughing because we have Carlos in the comments
Yeah, I'm seeing it
saying
now.
sometimes dispatch is just Odell's one-on-one user session with the dev. I mean, I hope you guys find that helpful. It's kind of my style. So when you say that, I mean, that backup is a privacy issue. It's not a security issue, right? So if someone gets access to that backup, they know your balance and they know your transaction history, but they can't actually spend your funds.
Exactly. Yeah, they cannot spend anything, but they can know your balance. So yeah, you should generally protect it, but it's not as critical as your keys.
So so you take that PDF and you print out that PDF, and then you can just store that PDF, ideally in multiple places.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
is
So
it,
yeah,
that PDF has a QR code on it? Is that what it is?
yeah.
So,
So it
so you
has
don't have to
text and
retype
it
it?
has a QR basically. So you can have both
Right.
options. It doesn't scan the QR for some reason. You can, typing manually would be a nightmare, but if your funds depend on it,
You'll figure it out.
yeah.
And so that PDF backup means that if for some reason Bitcoin Keeper disappears, you'll be able to still get the access to the funds, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to trust us. Everything is compatible with the standards. So if for some reason Bitcoin Keeper is not available and the code disappears from GitHub for some reason, then you can still recover on other services, on other wallets.
Got it. That's incredibly important. So all of this sounds awesome. It sounds like you guys have gone through painstaking lengths to not require trust in actual Bitcoin Keeper team and the wallet and the app. Historically, when that's been the case, it's hard to necessarily make money off of the project. And you guys are a company with salaries. How does Bitcoin Keeper make money?
Yeah, so we're trying to offer the app as a, let's say, a tier model, a subscription model. So you have the free tier where we offer a lot. We offer you the most of the options. So the multisig, the single key, hardware wallet integration, everything. What we offer on the higher tiers are more backup options. So like more automated backups with us, for example. We offer the mini script options on the paid tier. And yeah, we offer certain features. We offer a server key option also. So we offer most of the features also already on the free tier, but some stuff for, let's say, for backup and comfort and like inheritance we offer on the higher tiers.
So, what does that pricing look like?
So it's for the first tier, it's $15 a month, and then the second tier is 30 a month. And then we have basically a full hand-holding service called Keeper Private, where we offer $2,000, where it's basically you have a kit, you have hand-holding, you have everything.
Is that's per year or
Yeah, that's
just one time?
that's per year. The ones that I said, yeah, the 2,000 is per year. Sorry.
But the other ones were per month. So
Yeah,
inheritance is under. If you want to use the inheritance features, you have to pay $30 a month.
yeah, you have the yearly plan for for 300 and 150, but yeah, you have to pay the yearly, the monthly fee, whatever.
Got it. Cool. I mean, that makes sense to me. It's an ethical way to monetize. Do you have any? You said other backup options. Does that include holding a key or something like that? Like, how is that handled?
Yeah, so we offer the server key option where we have basically a server key, a key that is on a server, which you can choose spending conditions for. So let's say not spend more than $1,000 in a month, or not sign for or sign with a delay of 1 week or 1 month, 2 weeks, whatever. But basically, you have these options as well.
Got it. And that's part of the paid tier.
Yeah, yeah, that's on the paid tier.
Got it. Cool. Carlos is asking, how big is the Bitcoin Keeper team?
Yeah, so it's 6 people, you could say.
Okay. Nice, small, lean team. What other is there any other interesting features that would compel someone to use Bitcoin Keeper over the alternatives?
Yeah, I think the mini script options are a very strong and unique option that we offer, so that the user is completely in control, doesn't have to trust us for backups, for inheritance, but can do everything with their own keys. Besides these, we also offer inheritance documents. So when you try to plan your inheritance, you want to leave something to let's say, to your attorney or to your heirs, some set of instructions or an explanation. So we offer that as well, like some certain templates that help you plan that. Besides these, nothing on the top of my head, but there are a lot of small features all around the app that try to make it as easy as possible.
You recently added Tether support. What does that look like? How do you think the user is using that?
Yeah, so with Tether, we use basically a service that is called gas free, which means that you can use Tether both as the currency and the fee option. So you don't need to hold any shitcoins in order to use Tether. This aims mostly for people who are interested to use Tether and also want to use Bitcoin, but don't really care much about more shitcoins or stuff like that. Just want to have some stability with the dollar, but still use Bitcoin for most of the things, right? So kind of have a balance between there.
So along with all their other wallets on Keeper, they would also have, I guess, like a Tether single sig wallet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you just have another wallet on the list, which is your Tether wallet if you choose to create it. Yeah, and you can send, you can receive. Yeah, that's it. It just tries to make things easier for people.
Um, the uh, I should just I'm addicted to reading live chat. The Tether. So how is the Tether wallet is that another BIP85 child seed? Like you're just keeping your main hot wallet seed and that covers that as well, or how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's another B85 child seed.
So the user is just keeping one seed. It's covering their Bitcoin wallet. It's covering their Tether wallet. Has many Bitcoin wallets as they want, and their Tether wallet. How does it work? So Tether is on multiple different chains. Is this like cross-chain compatible? Can you pay a Tether invoice on? Tron is the most popular, and then Solana and ETH. Does it matter which chain you're paying to or receiving from?
Yeah, so right now we started only on Tron because this is where like 50 something percent of USDT is. We want to add, if this feature becomes popular, if we see enough demand, we will add more chains, so you don't have to worry about which chain you want to send to or receive from. Also, very important, we want to simplify the whole experience so you can pay everything with the USDT for the fees, so you don't have to think about the shitcoins
Right.
or the underlying chain where it's on. But yeah, we want to support whatever the users will need.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Americans, they don't see the value in Tether support.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
I
never
definitely
I've never
understand
used Tether. But like I mean, I did a trip to Argentina, and Argentina has a failing currency, and it's very hard to access dollars. And they have a thriving black market currency market there. And we went to one of the brokers, and 98% of their transactions was specifically Tether on Tron.
that. Hmm.
So that economy has effectively dollarized from the bottom up into Tether on Tron. And what we see is, in practice, the most popular self-custody wallet in the world is Trust Wallet by Binance, which is a horrible wallet. It's a really bad wallet. But the reason people mainly use it is because it has Tether support and it has really bad Bitcoin support. So to have a wallet that has good Bitcoin support, like really good Bitcoin support, and then also has usable Tether support, I feel like is an interesting trade-off balance that a lot of international users will uh,
Hmm.
flock to.
Yeah, yeah, I know that the American market. I mean, Americans have great access to the US dollar, right? I
Yeah.
get why they don't need Tether, but not everyone has the same access to US dollars, right? Which is still, compared to many other currencies, this is the most one of the most stable currencies in the world, right? And definitely the most liquid. So it still makes sense that in many regions people will need some dollars, right? Uh, I definitely know that Bitcoin. Well, we all want hyper Bitcoinizations, but it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. There needs to be some gradual transfer from the dollar to Bitcoin. And people who are using currencies which are way worse than the dollar will definitely need this dollar in the meantime.
Right. And so, do you also offer swaps between the two? Like, if I'm in app, can you easily switch between Tether and Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's coming in the next version. So we'll
Okay,
offer the option to swap easily. So if you want to move between them, that should be very easy to in the next version.
got it. I mean that's the hope, right? I think um, if you want to see more people use Bitcoin, then having good Bitcoin wallets that offer Tether support is that they come in and start using it for Tether. And then if they can easily switch into Bitcoin for their long-term savings, then they'll do that as well. How do you think about do you guys support Lightning, and how do you think about Lightning?
No, so right now we don't support Lightning. The reason is basically that we're focused more on long-term cold storage, like holding savings, and then people just so an older iteration of the app, which was Hexa Wallet, did have Lightning support, but they kind of realized that people want some separation between the money that they're spending and the money that they're saving, right? So Keeper is trying to be more of a savings app and not so much the spending app.
Yeah,
Maybe in the future we'll consider adding it, but right now we're not adding Lightning.
that makes sense to me. It's also just it's hard to do self custody Lightning in an easy UX way. Um, have you? And so like it makes sense to me to like have a focus and uh, a differentiation between apps, right? It's like the user can download Phoenix, they can download Zeus, they can use that for their Lightning wallet, and then they can use Bitcoin Keeper for uh, on chain. And I think that's a completely reasonable balance for users to make. And then each respective app can focus on their strengths rather than try and put it all into one app. Have you? I mean, while I have you here, um, you're one of the more interesting technical minds in Bitcoin. Have you explored the different concepts around trying to make self custody Lightning easier, whether that's quote unquote self custody Lightning easier, whether that's Spark from LightSpark or Arc? Have you looked into
No,
that at all?
I really so all the time I've focused ever since Specter I've focused on self custody more for the long term, right? So savings, large funds, and I haven't really used Lightning so much from the from work perspective, right? From development perspective. So no, I don't know these solutions enough to talk about them.
Got it. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I've played around with Wallet of Satoshi's. I played around with Wallet of Satoshi's beta, which they're using Spark, um, which is, I guess, a fork of Mercury Layer, which is like a swap chain. I haven't like really looked into the like deep technical details behind it, but like UX wise, it works really well. Trust model wise, it's like not quite self custody, but maybe it's good enough for people. Maybe it's good enough for regulators, which is really the key thing I think they're trying to get around.
Yeah, for
Um,
people who think if you I mean Lightning is not really for storing your life savings, right?
right.
So usually not the end of the world to have some trust there. For small funds, like the trust model can be a bit different.
Yeah. And I think that just a lot of it is just trying to get around KYC regulation. And if it's quote unquote self custody enough for regulators, then maybe it makes sense. But
Yeah,
I will say
definitely.
from a UX point of view, it worked quite well. And from my understanding of the trust model is basically um, you're trusting that LightSpark isn't going to act maliciously. If they wanted to act maliciously, they could be party to the swaps and then could spend your funds. Um, okay, awesome. I mean, Ben, while I have you here as well, like, so what are your current thoughts on the current state of Bitcoin? Are you optimistic about where we're at? The state of self custody versus like the paper Bitcoin products. How do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I mean things definitely feel quite good right now, very near the all time high, right? So there's quite a good feeling all around the space. But yeah, generally everything is going towards the financialization of Bitcoin, right? It's going towards the paper Bitcoin and not as much towards the self custody hardcore Bitcoiners that we used to have back a few years ago. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a good and a bad, right? We all knew that Bitcoin is going way higher. We all knew that Bitcoin is going to succeed, but it's kind of um, losing some of the cultural aspects that it used to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably always going to happen. I think this is like the path of Bitcoin adoption that was most likely. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
on.
no, it's not that it doesn't make sense. Like it was kind of expected, but it's still it's not the best to see how things are happening and going towards all the paper Bitcoin, and not people just stopping to care about self custody. It's a bit risky overall eventually. But yeah, I mean, we cannot really stop that. The most that we can do, I guess, is to try and educate people.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think, look, people are going to use Bitcoin in different ways. You might not agree with people might not agree with all the ways they use Bitcoin. That's the whole point of Bitcoin. Uh, I think the bullish takeaway is that we have more people than ever using Bitcoin as freedom money and using it in a self custody way. Percentage wise, it's significantly down, but absolute number wise, like the actual number of people is higher. And the tools are clearly getting better. I mean, we started this conversation talking about the environment Specter Wallet appeared in 5 years ago. And it's never been easier than today to actually self custody Bitcoin and use it in a freedom oriented way, which is pretty beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's always getting better. I'm really excited to see where it will be in 5 years, because in the last 5 years we've gone so far, right? And I'm sure like people that were here, 2013, for example, in 2020 they had tools which were much better than back then, right? Now we have tools that are much better than 2020, right? So I'm excited to see what's coming in the next few years, really.
Yeah, I agree. The future's bright. Ben, Carlos is working overtime as a co-host of the show, and he brought up a point that I did want to bring up. How do you guys, Keeper Wallet, Bitcoin Keeper? How do you guys think about social recovery? Um,
Yeah, so we have certain thoughts on social recovery in the future, but nothing immediate. We are working, I can say that we are working to integrate a contacts feature into Keeper, which will basically allow more features, including social recovery in the future. But yeah, first of all, we want to introduce this contact option so you can kind of interact with people. For example, instead of using the links for everything that I mentioned, you will be able to do it even more easily just within the apps and messages within the app that can integrate with the wallets.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, you could kind of think of the miniscript features as a social recovery layer as well, because instead of the air having the recovery keys, you could have, your best friend or your uncle or something like that hold those recovery keys. It doesn't necessarily have to be the air. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, social recovery is interesting, right? Because it's one of those things that has been thrown around in Bitcoin project and product circles for fucking years. And in a theoretical world, it seems great, right? It's like, okay, you're taking on personal responsibility, you're holding self custody Bitcoin, but if you mess it up, um, a threshold of your friends or confidants or people you trust can help you recover your wallet. But then doing it in both a secure way and an easy way is a very difficult problem to solve. Like I haven't
Yeah,
seen anyone successfully solve it yet. Bitkey's kind of close. They have their own trade-off model that they're battling with or they're offering to the market, I guess, which I think can be compelling for certain people depending on their threat model. But Bitkey is more like, to me, like the way I look at Bitkey is uh, it's not trying to solve the same problem that typical hardware wallets have tried to solve over the years. Like a typical hardware wallet is trying to solve strictly the security problem and protecting your Bitcoin, while BitKey is more introducing hardware and multisig into the mix to make it harder for you to lose your Bitcoin and make a mistake. Like it's trying to solve that problem more than actual securing yourself in a more hardened way, offline way. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes from people like comparing like a BitKey to a cold card, for instance. I think they're trying to solve two very different problems and take two very distinct trade-off balances there.
yeah, yeah. It's always about trade-offs, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that goes really hand in hand, I think, with the social recovery stuff, right? Because it's like when you try and do the social recovery in an easy way, it's hard to do it in the most secure way, and then you have this whole balance. But like I said, now I'm kind of ranting, but the Miniscript component is really
Yeah,
interesting
the
and compelling.
manuscript is definitely one of the features for, let's call it, a social recovery option, right?
Yeah.
Where you can give out keys but don't trust people. And again, it's always a trade-off. If you want a solution that is secure, of course it will be harder to use. It is kind of by design, because if something is very easy, then it will be easy to access, right? And making something that is very secure but also very easy to use is it's simply hard, right? It's a difficult problem. So we try to get it better. We try to make it better all the time, and it's way better than it used to be. But it's still, obviously there are trade-offs.
Yeah. Ben, this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I should actually play around with Bitcoin Keeper and put it through its paces. And when I do, I'll give you some feedback.
Yeah.
But directionally, it seems like you guys are onto something. It seems like a pretty compelling feature set there. So thank you for that. Do you have any final thoughts for the audience before we wrap?
And not just generally try. You can try to use Bitcoin Keeper. Again, it's free, so you can just download it, create a wallet, and play with it. You don't have to register. We don't ask for any personal information, and you can just play with it and see what you think.
Love it. And the website is it bitcoinkeeper.app?
Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin Keeper.
Or they can just search it on their app store, Bitcoin Keeper.
Yeah, also on the App Store, Bitcoin Keeper. You can find this on the website. You can find it on X, on, well, Twitter.
Awesome. I tried to keep this episode accessible because your app is attempting to be accessible to new users. I don't know how successful I was at that. Historically, Dispatch has a lot more technical listeners. To the technical listeners that might be playing around with the app and want to give you feedback, what's the best way for them to give you technical feedback?
Yeah, so first of all, you can reach us through the app, right? So we have a whole chat system, like a support ticketing system from the app. Because we still have a Telegram group, but then Telegram is just uh, has too many scams, basically.
Yeah,
It's very
it's a
hard to.
mess.
Yeah, it's a mess, exactly. So we implemented a chat ticketing support through the app, so you can reach us more securely. And you can always reach me on Twitter. So my DMs are open, and I try to respond all the time.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
Freaks, especially those of you in the live chat, thank you for joining. You guys make this show unique. Kieran promised me he's going to make sure the Nostr chat is up and live sometime soon. In general, I will just take one for the team and say that the Nostr ecosystem in general needs to have better video streaming support, video watching support, all video stuff. I think it's somewhere where we can really excel, and we need to lean into it. So I will take partial responsibility for it not being at a stable, reliable, robust position right now. But we're making progress, and we're making progress quickly. So I think we'll be in a much better place soon. And then last but not least, freaks who support the show with sats, thank you. All the relevant links are at civilidispatch.com. Share with your friends and family. It really does go a long way. Leave a review in your favorite app store. It helps. But thank you all.